Hi, this is Kara from the Special Needs Mom podcast.
And this is Angela from Especially Organized, Sensible Solutions for Special Needs Moms.
We have this heart for special needs moms. And so we thought, you know what, let's combine forces. And we have come up with what we're calling the Purge Party. And you can pretty much guess what it is. It's a party where we're going to come together and we're going to purge or, in general, accomplish a goal, a small goal together. So we have set this for January 27th, starting at 8 o'clock for my Pacific Coast people.
Which means 11 o'clock for all of you on the East Coast. So this is an opportunity. If you have something on your to-do list that has just been stuck there and you are wanting to move it up on the list, you're wanting to tackle, maybe it's a space or an area of your home or a category in your home that has just needed a little time and attention. This is your opportunity for you to be online with us while you work and have access for us to help you answer your questions, help guide you, and just serve you for those 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you can tell like what we've designed is just this very high level of support for that project that you just haven't been able to tackle on your own. The thing that we are envisioning is that you get to leave this purge party feeling so accomplished because you did the thing. You started the year off getting that thing done that you were stuck on last year. And so it's a momentum builder, if you will. You can go ahead and sign up. We have a link ready for you, and we are offering this for $40 for the whole experience.
Absolutely. And we hope you'll join us. I think it's going to be really fun. It's going to be a great group of moms of special needs kids. So we all get each other. We all have an understanding of what it's like to have something on our to-do list, but just we haven't been able to tackle it yet. So I hope that you will join us. We're super excited to bring this to you, and we are thrilled to work with you.
All right. We'll see you all there. Hi, I'm Kara Riska, life coach, wife, and the mother of 4 incredible and unique kids. It wasn't all that long ago that my son received a diagnosis that had my world come crashing down. I completely lacked the ability to see past the circumstances, which felt impossible, and the dreams I once had for my life and family felt destroyed. Fast forward past many years of surviving and not at all thriving, and you'll see a mom who trusts that she can handle anything that comes her way and has access to the power and grace that once felt so completely lacking. I started the Special Needs Mom podcast to create connection and community with moms who find themselves up against what feels impossible. My intention is to spark the flare of possibility in your own life and rekindle the dreams that you hold impossible now. This isn't a podcast about your special needs child. This is a podcast about you. If you're a mom who feels anxious, alone, or stuck, then you are in the right place. Welcome. Well, hello there, and welcome back to the Special Needs Mom podcast. Today, we have a really fun episode. I'm interviewing Kim Nothdruft. And Kim, I met, of course, through Instagram, which is where I get actually to meet a lot of my guests. She is a wife and a mama to 5 kids. Her oldest daughter suffers from a rare genetic disorder, and she likes to say that she is raising teens and toddlers and totally exhausted. She comes to life with such a perspective of fun and laughter. I know that you'll be both inspired to laugh during this episode, but we also talk about the other side of when we're not laughing and what life is like when you are parenting 5 kids, especially with a daughter who is completely reliant on the people around her for her well-being. I invite you to listen all the way through and to see where you relate to Kim and where you don't, and where you might have something to learn or where you might have an ability to see how much you have learned in your own journey. Please, I'll ask this again at the end, but I would love for you to consider leaving a review and rating the podcast. I'm sure you've heard this before, but the reason this is so important is so that people can find the podcast. Obviously, this is a newer podcast, and so as we have continued to grow, it's been really fun to get new people acquainted and to get feedback. And I would love for people that may not know about this yet to connect to our community. So you can do that by just taking a second to go rate and review. I'm actually running a really fun contest this week. Actually, not a contest, it's a giveaway. And so we go look to my Instagram because I am doing some fun prizes for those of you that do take the time to go rate and review. Can you tell? I really want you to go rate and review. I think you can. I think I've said it 5 times. Well, that's enough of that. Let's get started. Enjoy the episode. Kim, thank you for coming and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Likewise. So Kim is somebody that I actually had started following on the gram. I don't know how long ago, but I was just attracted to the, the energy of the pictures that she posted. There was a lot of smiling and just a lot of fun, it looked like. And so I was just very intrigued. And I think, what is your handle? It's really funny.
Calm amongst chaos.
That is the part. Well, I like her already. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about your chaos, about a little bit of what has you call yourself a mom of a special needs child, and a little bit, give us a picture of your life.
Okay, so I feel like chaos is just the best way to describe us. We have 5 kids. Our oldest is 18 now, and she does have a rare genetic disorder that causes epilepsy, physically pretty severely disabled, cognitively disabled, dependent on us for everything. And I guess the chaos is that we continue to have children after that. So, married 19 years actually now. And Lily has a younger sister who is 15, a 11-year-old little brother, and a 5-year-old brother and a 4-year-old little sister.
So you have quite the spectrum of ages that you're parenting, and obviously a spectrum of abilities.
Yep.
And oh my gosh, the post that you did, I think it was last week, it was just like a little picture, a little snapshot of your life where it was like, do you remember? I'm sure you remember this post where it was, describe that moment to us a little bit. And then, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So it was just a basic evening. My husband is an EMS worker, so he works 24-hour shifts. And I was home alone at night with the 5 kids, and we were at the dinner table. I had my 15-year-old reading me her essay that I like to say that that's my last subject I can help her in is English. And so I was trying to listen to her. My 11-year-old was like, Mom, 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 Mom. My 5-year-old was like, Mom, Mom, Mom. And so my 15-year-old is like, guys, I'm trying to listen. Mom help me. And the 11-year-old, it's just that I have a special reading day tomorrow and I need snacks for my braces. And I'm like, okay. And then the 5-year-old's like, I really want this toy for Christmas. And I'm like, G2 feeding our oldest some supplements, and my 4-year-old's on my lap and takes the syringe and just sprays prune juice all over me and her and my other daughter. And I was like, just took a moment. I took a breath. I took the 4-year-old off of me and went upstairs, changed my pants, and came back downstairs. And when I saw my 4-year-old, she was sitting there crying because she thought I was mad at her. So I picked her up and told her, I'm not mad at you, even though I kind of was. But then I sat down, and the end of the story was that I peed because I sneezed so hard.
Oh no, that was it. You went upstairs to like change your pants.
Yes.
And like you got a clean set of pants on, and you're like, dealing with the chaos still. Yes. And then this moment where you're like, and now I have pee in my pants again, or like not again, but it was just like, it was so great. And it brought a lot of laughter to me, but it also brought a lot of, I get her a lot because we only have 4 kids, but the moment I'm sure come you, yeah, exactly. That it's like the mom, and the urgency of everybody. And in the midst of like, for our more immediate needs, like sometimes we'll have a lot of behavioral things where like we have like chaos behaviorally, and it's like kids still need stuff, or they're having their own breakdown as a result of the chaos in a different way than a parent does. And so I just so got you, and I appreciated just the humor, but also the realness, and like the also other thing that you did at the end of this particular post is like you said something about it was a perfect picture of parenting, but not perfect parenting. Was that what you said?
Exactly what I said. Yes.
And I was like, yeah, exactly. Cause I think, we think about Christmas and we think about this. I think about this like moment where like, we're cozy with a warm drink and like there's like music in the background, maybe a fire like crackling and like basically all is well. And Christmas is never like that. And so I think we do the same thing for family life and like what it looks like to be a mom, especially mom with, kids that you're having extra needs for. And so I just really loved the realness that you brought to that little snapshot.
Thank you. And that is kind of how I pride myself in reality, because that is just, I don't know. We have a lot of, Instagram is a scene of pretty stuff all the time. So I'd like to do cute pictures too, but I do like to have this like the real stuff because it's real. And I was totally kidding when I said just 4 to you, because I was like, yeah,
no.
You said just 4. And I'm like,
not.
Just 4. That's a lot of kids. I think anything past 2 is a lot.
I think, even having one, I mean, that can be like a crazy town when you've never done it before, right? Or let's just say if there's extraordinary needs, then yeah, of course.
Absolutely. I just think the outnumbered thing gets a little overwhelming,
Yeah, totally. So. Yeah, especially I'm at this new stage where they're starting to not starting, it's been a while, outstrength me to where I can't just pick them up anymore and like put them in their room. I don't know what I would do, but like, picking up a child, like you still have a certain ability to control them.
Right.
And when they outweigh you, and unfortunately they're starting to outsmart me too, but then it's a whole new level of, oh, okay, when now I have to find a different way to parent that doesn't involve picking you up. It's been a long time actually since I could pick up some of my kids. So, okay. Something that you've shared is that you really love to live life. And I've mentioned a little bit earlier, there's a lot of laughter. I mean, and for anybody that wants just a really nice smile, you can just go look at your Halloween outfit I saw it over the weekend. I was like, well, that's a well put together outfit. Describe it for us.
Well, first of all, the only place I got to go this year was my gym. So I do love to go to Halloween parties. So I wanted to find something that was workout. I was quote unquote say appropriate because I went with the 80s style. And I mean, it was still a little inappropriate and not very comfortable, to be honest. And I don't know how they did that in the 80s because like your leotard's up your behind and it was like so uncomfortable.
That is funny. So the picture is, think like, I don't know, were they blue leggings and then the hot pink leotard with the full on Reebok, right? Is that the brand?
Yeah.
Reebok, like high
tops.
I mean, she went all out and so it's just very classic. And I agree. I'm like, oh man, like if I don't have some baggy clothes in certain places, people see sweat marks where we all know we sweat in certain places, but sometimes we don't want everyone to know about it.
You don't want everybody to know that. That's why black leggings are the best.
Agreed. I know. Actually, I was dropping off my daughter at school this morning and I had run this morning and I had a fair amount of time to cool off, but I'm a sweater. So I was like standing in line. I was like, ooh, I wonder if the people behind me are like, whoa, lady, what you been doing this morning?
Hopefully they're inspired by you that you were just running. Right?
Let's hope that. I was inspired by myself. So let's just celebrate that. Absolutely. So laughing has been a major kind of what would you call it? Like a theme or kind of a guidepost for you? Coping mechanism. Or excuse me. Yeah. It's been a major coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And is that intentional or how did you get to the place where you are able to laugh so freely about some really hard things?
I think it's how I was raised. I mean, my dad is a very funny guy and everything was a joke and like there wasn't a lot of sympathy doled out and it was just, if I fell, can you do it again? Like in a humorous way. So you just try not to take anything too serious because they didn't let you, So I think we kind of just pour that onto our kids and I guess we'll see when they get older if that was the right thing or not.
I know. I'm constantly reminding myself when my kids are having some experiences, like one of my children really struggles with justice, like that it's just not right that his brother would act in this way and not get in big trouble. Whereas if he acted in the same way. He knows he would get in a fair amount of trouble, and he just can't get past like the injustice of it all. So I'm thinking, as he's sharing this with me, I'm thinking, okay, well, you know what? You're going to have to work through this as an adult. I cannot fix this. I cannot change this. I'm going to do the very best I can to coach you and guide you through this. But no matter how great of a parent I am, no matter what, he will still have his issues, his things that he
Yep.
needs to deal with. And so for me, it's actually really freeing being like, all right, well, just giving you your ammunition for like
Yeah.
when you're upset at your parents and they weren't good enough when you're adult. I mean, not that I'm
Right.
trying to do that, but I think it sounds like
I think we all think that. We all know that. I had good parents. I mean, we all have still hangups about stuff.
exactly. I think it's for me easy because I have amazing parents, and also just acknowledging like we're all just doing the best we can, and that might not be enough yet, and that's totally okay. Like no
Right.
matter what we do, our kids are gonna still end up with gaps and with needs that
Mhm.
we didn't provide for.
Absolutely. And I think parenting, you have to just work with the wheelhouse that you have. Like if you're good at one niche, you just stick with it and pretty hard and do what you can with it. And that's what you're working with. Like, if I'm not very type A, so I'm pretty easygoing. So we work with that. And so I guess I do have a type A kid who will parent me at times. So it's just, we got to do what we have, the skills that we have to do it with.
Yeah. So I actually want to look at both sides of that coin. So the questions are going to be looking at, okay, let's look at how you're like killing it as a mom, where you feel like you're like knocking it out of the park. And then we'll look at the other side of that as well. But first, let's talk about how you think you're just killing it.
I think we have fun. Like we have fun at our house. We all laugh. We joke with each other. But we do snuggle and cuddle and we are affectionate as well. I definitely think that area we are doing great. Like the kids have fun at home. They want to be home.
Well, it sounds like you have fun too.
Yeah, I have to. I have
Yeah.
to have fun or
Well,
I don't
and
really want to be there.
exactly. Well, I think because one of the things that I say is motherhood is leadership.
Mhm.
And I think that if we show up in a way where we're not, so in your case, having fun, then it's very predictable that your kids are not going to experience fun. Or on the other side, I know for myself, when I show up feeling time pressured or feeling rushed, then I show up in such a way that has them feel pressure or feel pushed. And I don't really know anybody that likes to feel pushed around. And
Mhm.
so, really just kind of taking responsibility for how we show up and how that impacts everybody around us.
It's night and day. When you come into the house with a positive attitude, the kids are just naturally happier. If I had a bad day and I'm grumpy, they're grumpy too. And it's kind of annoying that you have to be that mood setter, but then it's also kind of more inspiring to be, to bring the right attitude to the table,
Yeah,
so to
you
say.
you realize like what the opportunity is. Well, how for those days that are maybe the dark days or the days where you're just having a hard time, how do you give yourself space to allow that as well, since it's not fun all the time?
No, it's not fun all the time. So the space thing is hard because I don't have a lot of it. For instance, we had a really fun dinner out on Friday night and then came home to our oldest is still diapered and she made a mess, like a really big mess. And so I had to go from, we had a good dinner and everybody was happy. And I had to just all of a sudden clean bed, clean sheets, clean clothes, give her a shower, all on a turn of a dime. And I was just, I wasn't happy about it. I'm like, why can't we just have a fun night where things aren't difficult? And it's not her fault in the least. And it's still, I just, in that moment, I'm just grumpy and I just deal with it. And then I'm like, I'm going to go upstairs and go lay down for a minute, and not that I get the space to lay down alone because everybody usually follows me.
Yes. I can
But
imagine with
still,
the ages kids that you have that you're like a little magnet where they just
yeah,
follow around and want to touch and
yeah.
talk and all the things.
But even if I could just lay my body down and just be like, okay, just I don't want to talk for a minute. Let me be. And that's what I have to do,
Yeah. And it's really amazing actually. Cause I mean, maybe that's the gift of not being type A. I think that it's hard for some of us to stop and to not just push through and to kind of work through, like work over and not to acknowledge that we just need a break or just to need to lay down and say, well, that sucked. It was really, in this case, it sounds like it was very shitty.
Yeah, so 100%.
A lot of shit. And so like literally it was just a shitty situation. And so just letting it be and just saying that sucked. It sounds like you really do give yourself it. And I think it's a really great example that it's not like you have to go on a 2-day retreat to go process this and to give yourself space. Like
I wish.
I know, right? Give yourself 30 seconds and maybe even 5.
Yeah.
Just to acknowledge, wow, this is hard. Yeah. I wanted to come home and like extend the celebration or whatever the feeling of the night. And you didn't want it to go this way. So
no.
Good job.
No. Thanks. Well, thanks.
So let's look on the other side. Where do you fear that you might be falling short as a mom?
Oh, I am terrible with time. I am not great with my kids' like hair and like, like those things. Like they're a mess all the time. Like until they can like actually do it for themselves. Like my 4-year-old's always kind of a mess. Like I feel like a lot of like their preschool teacher, I'm like, oh, she probably hates me. I just come rolling in late. The kids are all messy. And I'm sure I know she doesn't hate me. She's so sweet. But you just get that vibe because you just see other parents who have it totally together. And I'm just not that mom. And I've been doing this 18 years. Like I realize I'm not going to be that mom. Eventually, either that grandma, like it's just,
grandma. It's a question though. Do you really want to be that mom?
No, I mean, I guess sometimes when we show up places, I would, I don't know. I wish everybody looked a little bit better. I don't know. Not so just frumpy and I know that's superficial, but it's just kind of a, man, why can't I just have them look, I don't know, more prepared or why am I always like buying snacks the night before or the birthday gift the day before? Why don't I plan ahead? Those kind of things. I'll get upset with myself that I'm just not like we talked earlier. I'm not a planner. Everything's on the dime.
Well, the reason I asked the question, like, do you want to be, is because it sounds like you're actually pretty content. I mean, yes, there's some annoyances of being like, oh gosh, why did I wait till the last minute again? Because I do that as well. But then maybe you might change a couple little things. But actually, it sounds like you are comfortable with having your kids like not have French braids, and that it's actually very in line with maybe what your values are.
It's definitely in line with my values. Yeah. And I guess, I don't know. I guess sometimes I think about like my 15-year-old she's like on time for everything. I stress her out sometimes. And I'm just like, I don't want to be a different mom because I know she loves me for who I am and how it is. But you just wonder like, oh man, if she had a mom who was a little more on top of things, would her life be a little easier? And, I think the kids have a lot more responsibility and they already do naturally because I guess my focus will always be on their sister who can't do anything for her themselves. Right. Yeah. So, and she grew up like that because they were the two, I call them the OGs because it was them two for quite a while. And then the other ones came along. So, she took on responsibility very, very early, knew seizures at 2 or 3 years old, knew what medicine she took. Like she just took onto it. Like, and I'm sure that's probably normal, I'm guessing, for special needs siblings. But it's just, I don't know. She just has it. She's just so responsible. Sometimes I just wonder if she's responsible because of me, like in return because of me,
Yeah, it is funny to see our kids' personalities develop. And I know that I see my oldest and he is just so driven and so he's in Boy Scouts and he's so he's 13, so he has 5 more years to be able to do all the things for Eagle, but he's just like on it and he just keeps advancing. I was like, who is this child and how is he so like driven? But then I also look at myself like, well, maybe he didn't fall that far from the tree, but in the same sense, he's also uh remarkable to me and how he's just going for it. And he's like, and I'm gonna get a plane instead of a car when I get 16 or turn 16. I'm like, oh my gosh. Actually, he's gonna build a plane. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, I'm like, okay, so you're gonna need to call your uncle who's an engineer to figure that one out. But
Right.
anyhow, so it is so fun to see the personalities developing. And yeah, I do think that the environment that they're in, given these siblings that they have, probably, and of course, parents, right? Hugely forms who they are. But what I was going to say earlier is that I think what happens a lot is that we look at other people around us and we think, I guess it's comparing. We like, oh man, if only I was more like that. Cause I happen to be more of a mom that I'm not good with like planning months ahead for like birthday parties. I'm always like, how do these moms do this? Like they have like birthday parties on the month, like 2 months. I'm like, goodness. But I'd love to be that way, but I'm not yet. And I don't know if I really want to be. But anyhow, I can look at families that just kind of show up and maybe they're a little bit messy. And I'm kind of like, that's awesome. They look so much more happy and relaxed. And like the mom's not in a little tizzy like sometimes I can do. And even just this morning, like when I was getting my daughter ready for school, I was like, okay, well, like, she's my only girl. So I'm like, okay, like, gotta fix her hair. But that's what you do with the girl. And so I was putting her in a pony and she wasn't happy about it. And then there's this part of me that does want her to look presentable, like she has a mom.
Right.
And so long story short, she ended up taking the pony out. She was not happy about it. And I actually did. I'm proud of myself because I just let her be. I was like, you know what? Like, this is not a big deal. And her hair will look good, or her hair is going to look how it looks. But
Yeah.
what I guess my whole point in the long story there is just saying, like, I think in so many different ways, we always look at like the opposite of what we are and we say that's better. But what we don't know, and this is what I think is so fascinating, is that the other people that we are thinking that about, they're thinking the exact same thing about us. They're looking at us and being like, oh man, I wish I could be more like that. And I just think it's fascinating. Like when those conversations open up, it just every time I'm like, oh my gosh, that's mind blowing.
Yeah, that is true. And it's hard to keep that in check, but it is a good thing to try to remember but I mean, the moment's hard, but to just kind of keep that in check that we all have different abilities and what we bring to the table as a parent is what we have.
And it's then yeah, exactly. It's what you have and it's perfect. And I think, people have a hard time with the word perfect, but it's like, it's what you have and it's exactly what you need.
Right.
And like, for me, that just brings so much peace.
Yeah, it is peaceful to be comfortable with how you do things and practice to do it. But yeah.
Definitely. Let's talk a little bit about how having the daughter that you have, Lily specifically, you shared with me earlier that she made you who you are today. And specifically, she made you into somebody you like today. I would love you to just tell us a little bit more about your journey as you've mothered her.
I think, I mean, I had her at 23 and I would say a lot of 23-year-olds are, kind of self-involved. I had spent a decade modeling and it was kind of, I guess, I don't know. I wouldn't say I was like caught up in it, but I mean, it was my career and I traveled with it and it was what I did. And so it was a very superficial world I was in. And I just assumed I was going to have this beautiful little girl, which I did. But I just pictured the dance classes and I pictured sports or whatever, what was going to be. And I mean, almost from the first couple of weeks, we knew that that was not going to be the case. And that journey was really, really intense and hard. And you kind of lost yourself along the way and find out like the deep down who you truly really are. And I just can't help but think, gosh, if her life projected the way I had planned, where would my life have been, ended up? And I just think as hard as she has it and as I would take it away from her in a heartbeat because she still has daily seizures and I hate that for her. She's had she gets sick, she gets really sick, and there's fears that we truly have with her diagnosis, that are just true. Like, what things can go bad. Um, but since she is that way and we can't change that, I am thankful for her. I am thankful that she taught me that life is short and it is precious. And every moment we have with her, like, you don't get that with your kids. Otherwise, I just don't think you don't get the full grasp of how fragile it all really is. We get caught up in the day-to-day stuff, but with her, just yesterday, her and I just laid on the couch for about 20-30 minutes, just her and I, and the peace that she gives me, it's like contagious. And it's like, you want to just be near her. You want to hold her hand. You want to rub her. She's just like an angel. Like, she truly is like not of this world, like sometimes. And I think, how lucky am I to get to be that close to her and be her mom, like her mom.
Wow, that's amazing. And actually, as you're sharing, I'm like, she could be an angel. Like, I just think that like the experience that you have of these kids, I don't know if somebody that has never experienced it can, what it's like to be with someone that has, what we would all look at on a horrible circumstance. As she doesn't, sounds like, have barely any control of her body. She's completely dependent on other people, completely, right? For her entire being.
100%.
And
yeah.
So most of us wouldn't ever say, yeah, sign me up for that. Yet she shows up in a way that just brings so much light and peace. And then it's remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, she truly is, like I said, like, not, she just doesn't seem like of this world. She's not like a regular human, she's just something really special. She really is. And she touches everybody who meets her and talks to her and knows her and works with her. And she's just, we just have I just think we get a special look at life when we have kids like we do.
I 100% agree. You mentioned earlier that, or you had shared with me that I think it was 5 years ago, she had a very close health scare where it sounds like you thought she was not going to make it. Is that kind of how it was?
Yeah, twice we've had where I thought, is this it? Like, I really truly thought it could be the end for her. It was really scary. She had a spinal fusion and had complications, was on life support for over a week in the PICU. And it should have been like, it was a serious surgery, but it shouldn't have, like, what happened.
Yeah.
And it was terrible. I mean, it was terrible watching her not being able to breathe, and it horrible.
Well, I have shared the experience of having to wonder if this is the end. And it's not something I would ever want any mother to have to experience. However, we have. And I know that a lot of people listening to this podcast probably also can relate, that we have had to face the fragility of our children's life. Like you mentioned earlier, like a lot of moms never have had, we don't walk around every day thinking, wow, like something horrible could happen to my child. We just don't. Like, it would just make us go nuts. And even actually, even though I've been through it, I still don't walk around thinking, wow, this could be the last day. But however, I can think back to those moments of when I thought, of the scariest moments of my life. For me, I actually can feel really, like, it created for me a different level of trust with myself, that because of what I was facing, I knew it was horrible and it felt excruciating, but I also knew I could do it. And it gave me a sense of, like, no matter what comes my way, I will be able to do it. It will hurt, but I know now that I can hurt to this capacity and I can still go on. So the question I wanted to ask you, and to see what comes up for you, is what has almost losing your daughter twice, what has that taught you, or what gifts has it brought you?
Oh man. PTSD. Just kidding.
And that, yes, that too. Yeah. Actually, I was like recently wondering, I was like, I need to do a little bit more work about some of the hospital settings that I go into.
For real. It
Yeah,
really,
and
really,
I'm not
truly
joking.
is.
I'm smiling and you're
No,
laughing, but it's so
right.
real. So real. Yeah.
Absolutely. I absolutely, I guess I haven't honestly thought about that. Like, because when I think about it, I think about how traumatic and how scary and oh my God, we almost lost her. Um, and I don't even ever have even tried to put myself in the place of what I got from it. I would say thankfulness, thankful that we got more time. We have more days and years since then. Um, and I do believe very, very strongly in the strength that I have within myself, like to be able to push through and go forward, like, and take each day as they come. And I do feel like that is an inner strength that we have, that we all actually have, but nobody,
Mm-hmm.
we don't always have it tested or, put to the limit. But it's powerful when you see it and can recognize it and be thankful for it.
When do you think that you were able to identify that like you have this and know confidently that you have this strength? Because I 100% agree that we all have it, but I don't think a lot of moms are able to acknowledge that they do. They don't feel confident. They don't think they can do it. And I know
Oh,
certainly I've certainly been there in certain points myself. When do you think you got to the place where you feel obviously so confident that you have the strength it takes to do this?
I just wanted to piggyback also what you said, because a lot of people will say, I don't know how you do it. I couldn't do it. And I just want to tell moms, you can, you will, if you had to. It is your child. And that is all that I could say is you got an inner mama bear in you, and it'll come out if someone tells your kid they don't like their shoes, or if a doctor says, you know, you got this going on. I just want to, like, I want moms to know that, because I get told that so often, like, you're so strong, I couldn't do that. And I just want moms to know that that is not true. Um, but I would actually honestly say I spent a lot of years thinking I was strong, and I would put on a strong face, and I would be like, this is our lot in life, and we love her so much, and none of that wasn't not true. But I think on my insides, like, I was still hurting so much, and it wasn't until I could say, hey, this hand we got dealt is hard and it
Mm-hmm.
sucks sometimes, and I still am sad on her 16th birthday that she's not driving a car. And I think that's actually when I felt my most strong, is when I could admit how hurt I am at this. And I will, like, understand I'm probably going to hurt for the rest of her life, because it is a grief that we have. You're grieving that loss, that for her and for me, and I truly felt like once I could admit that I'm not pretending anymore. I'm not pretending that this is fine. This is what's supposed to happen. I guess it's just being real. When she finally get real is when I felt actually the strongest.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think you really articulated it so well. That concept has come up a couple of times as I've been interviewing moms on the show. And it's always really great to see just the individual experience of it and how moms get to that place where they, sounds like for you, it was just allowing and accepting what was, like in the sense of like, this really sucks. And also being able to lean into those more negative or unpleasant feelings, um, knowing that those could exist alongside of you still love your daughter. And like we just talked about, like she's this amazing gift. That doesn't mean we don't get to be sad about her not driving
Right.
and all these things that you had dreamed for her when you became a mom.
And yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
I was afraid to admit that I'm missing out on this stuff. So then therefore I don't accept her. And so it was
Yeah.
you're on this whole thing where I have to accept, I have to accept, I have to accept. But maybe you're accepting the whole thing, not just her. Accept her the day she was born.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean you're accepting of everything, life gave you.
No, what do you, so you said, I think people are afraid to admit, and I agree. So what do you think we're afraid of?
Of feeling like you don't love your kid, or looking like you don't love your kid, or even in your own heart thinking, well, if I'm disappointed that she's like this, does that mean, I'm not happy with her? And, and,
Yes.
and nothing's black and white. We are so layered and multicolored, and it's not that simple. You can love and hurt at the
Yes.
same time.
Yes. So good. Oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing is, I mean, that for me also, and actually, so this month we're now in November, and probably the next episode after this one airs, I'm going to be talking about gratitude and just how, touching on the fact that we can have some really bad things going on in our life that we are not grateful for and have gratitude. But it doesn't mean that we have to be grateful for all the things in our life. And I know for
Absolutely.
myself, I conflated the two. I was like, wait, I'm supposed to be grateful. And so I'm thinking like brain tumor, I'm not grateful.
Yeah.
I am not
Right.
doing this right.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so I think you just said it so well. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for bringing that specific conversation. And are there any things else on your mind that have come up in the conversation that you want to share?
I think this is such a great conversation. And I felt like you and I are just like hanging out and talking. And I really love it. And a deep talking, big talking, but I
I
like
know. I was
it.
like, she can always say, I decline to answer. I should have
No,
warned you. I
I
go
love it.
deep and I go fast.
No, I love it. I love it. That's like my wheelhouse. I don't like small talk. No, I think this is great.
So that's another theme that I've noticed among the moms I talk to on this platform and elsewhere is that a lot of us have a low capacity for small talk. Like,
Absolutely.
oh, what ballet class are you signing your daughter up for? I mean, not that we can't talk about that or even be excited about that, but it's kind of like we want to talk about the meaning of life. And it can be all different things, but
Yeah.
it just we relate on a little bit different things. And I think back to the conversation about when you have gone through the experience of coming face to face with the idea that your daughter, in your case, because she's biological, the one that you made from your womb may not live in the way that you expected her to. I think when you have to go that place as a mom, I think it changes you. And I think that for me, in my experience, is it ignites something within us that I think is far greater than or bigger than I think this world. And so anyhow, so it's very common for us moms to not necessarily even relate at the same levels anymore to some moms who have happened to have different circumstances. And it's
Right.
not good or bad. It just, I'm noticing it come up a lot, which I think is kind of funny.
Everybody's so different. And I think when Lily was little, I'd have a lot of kind of anger towards people who had typical kids with typical problems. Because I mean, Lily was like 2.5 before I had her sister, so we already were. She was our only child, and people would be like, "Oh, pray for my son. He has to have ear tubes or something." And I would be like I had a hardened heart, and I'd be like, "That that's not a problem. That's not a big deal." But I was watching a news show about a little girl with alopecia, and I was watching it, and at first I was kind of hardened, like that's not that big of a deal. And then all of a sudden, something hit my heart watching the mom, and the mom was talking about just doing everything she could to help her daughter. And I related to that mom so much that I was like, that is a big deal. That's a huge deal for a girl, a young girl, a woman, anybody to not have her hair. And I was just I was so happy that that moment happened for me, that I could soften my heart, because I had a boy that had to have his tubes in his ears, and he had to have a tonsillectomy, and I was sad for him, and it was hard for me. And it was like, that is a big deal. So I just think sometimes people be like, oh, the other opposite of the spectrum, they'll be like, oh, I know it's nothing that you deal with, but it's kind of big to us. And I'll be like, I don't want to be that person. I want you to tell me what's going on with your kid and not think I'm going to think what you think I'm going to think. Because I used to think that, but I don't think that anymore. And I don't know. I'm really grateful to be able to understand moms, our hearts for our kids. Like, it doesn't matter what's going on with them, like nothing too big or too small. It's just like it's like your mama bear comes out, and I relate to that so much. I don't know if that made sense, but
it makes so much sense. And actually, after I get off of this recording, I'm actually going to do an episode specifically about this pain comparison or struggle comparison, because I love how you've kind of come first. You've like kind of owned up. Yeah, I was like definitely like being like, really, ear tubes.
Yeah.
And I find myself when I'm in the hospital for pre-op stuff for my son, like not now, but like in the early years being like, well, actually I probably had more compassion, like just noticing like when we were in the like pre-op stuff, it was kind of like, oh, this is routine. This is not a big deal. Like this is our everyday. And like almost feeling prideful about being desensitized to it.
Mm.
And then being able to watch the other parents like clearly in a different state, because they've probably never, I mean, I don't know, I obviously was judging everything, but never gone through this. And for them, their experience was, oh my gosh, I'm surrendering my child over to somebody else. We have no idea what's going to happen. And for them, allowing that to be a big deal, like letting that be a big deal doesn't mean that I can't have a big deal, and also that I can't have a small deal. Like their like ear tubes can be as big or small as they want to. Like it has no impact on my life. And for me, it feels so much better to have compassion rather than judgment. Like what you kind of where you said you came from, like, oh my gosh, like this is not a big deal. But allowing them the space to like have it be a big deal. And for us as parents to relate to them is, yeah, like, tell me, let's talk about it.
I know. Yeah. I was so glad I got to that place. I would hate to be still in that hardened heart place, because I want to be fair to me. I want to be fair to other people. Like, I just think compassion is so important. And especially to like now, like things are just so hard everywhere, you know?
Yeah. I know this year is just definitely taking it to the next level. But I think you mentioned earlier, people probably often, because they see you with 5 kids and then your daughter who's completely dependent on you, and they can't imagine much worse. And so they probably always do that preface like, oh, either you won't, it's not a big deal to you, or I don't want to trouble you with it, which is a bummer. And so it sounds like you would be able to say, hey, like, let's not do the pain comparison thing, because it just doesn't serve any of us. Because it also cuts off connection to that mom, because it's not allowing ourselves like the ability to just meet her in compassion. So
absolutely. I love that. The pain comparison. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you actually kind of take a look at it, you're like, we all have done this, I'm sure, but it's like you look at it and you're like, this is funny. So you'll have to listen to the next episode to get the whole story.
I will, absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, this was so much fun and actually fun and serious. And for me, these kind of conversations, I do delight in them. And so thank you for being willing to contemplate some of the hard questions that I asked, and to just sharing so openly with us.
I really loved this. It was great. I appreciate you having me on, and I love talking about life and being a mom and all the stuff. I just really love it. So this was fun for me.
And if people want to reach out to you to thank you, or just to kind of connect with you, if there's anything that they're like, yeah, I want to continue talking to her about that, what would be the best way for people to connect with you?
I would love that. Mostly probably Instagram, I'm guessing, or
what we can do is on the show notes, I'll just put you, Instagram's always great. People seem to be pretty good at that. And if they're not, then I believe that people can always find a way. So they'll figure it out. Yes. And so we'll put that in the show notes, and people will be able to reach out and connect with you, and just for fun, in the sense of like following along and watching you do life. For me, we talked about sometimes Instagram cannot be life-giving, but in my case, my feed's pretty amazing. And I get to see moms like you, where I get to feel connected and laugh a little bit together, and then also say, yeah, those moments, they suck. And, I also have pee in my pants.
Yeah. How can you not, after all these kids?
I know. Okay, well, let's wrap up. And again, just thank you so much for coming on. And thank you to my listeners who are with us in spirit.
Yes, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
So there you have it. That's the end of our show for today. And I'm so glad you were with us. I have one quick favor to ask you. It is the request to subscribe and to share. And of course, please leave your feedback. I want to hear from you. I want to know more of what you want, more of what helped you, and of course, more of what touched you. See you next time. One more thing before we officially wrap up this show. Sometimes when I'm listening to podcasts, I have the experience of wanting more. I'm listening at the very end thinking, I sure wish that episode didn't end. I invite you, if you feel in any way the same way, I invite you to the Special Needs Mom podcast community, which is a free group that I host on Facebook, where we as a community of fellow moms who listen to this podcast and are experiencing life in similar shoes, get to talk to one another, get to share stories, get to actually interact. I hope you'll consider joining. See you over there.